Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour, we will be talking about the Professional Development Collaborative, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
Before we begin, though, I would like to say if you have any questions for this evening, you can give us a call at 781-270-9199. Or if you think of a question and we're not live, or if you have a suggestion for a future topic, please feel free to email me at talk@bcattv.org. And before we continue, I also do want to apologize. I have a little cold tonight, so I sound a little stuffy. But I assure you I will be healthy next time. I would like to thank the crew for this evening. We have staff members Corey McNeil and Mike Duvall, and they pretty much, with the help of their colleagues, keep the place running and keep everyone looking great and keeping the community well informed. I also have a couple of volunteers to help me out this evening. We have Colleen Moore, who is Director Extraordinaire. Thank you, Colleen, for giving up your Wednesday night. And we have Joan Rolfe, who's another longtime volunteer here, and she helps just about in everything. Joan just does everything. She likes to hang out here. And last but not least, I want to thank my husband, Paul, for staying home for Daddy Date Night. Hope Gwyneth and Evan are cooperating for you, and you have a pleasant evening. And now we get to find out about Larry and Emily. I would like to introduce my guests, Larry Elle
Yes.
and Emily Hutchinson from the Professional Development Collaborative, PDC for short.
That's right. It's a bit of a mouthful.
You get paid by the letter, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, welcome, and thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
And the collaborative is pretty much for job seekers, correct?
Well, we help people in transition, and we were created really. Began producing workshops to grow people's professional skills while they're unemployed or while they're underemployed. And actually, now we're getting people who are working but want to grow their skills. So we're really all about helping people grow their skills to speed their return to work.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I guess one of our slogans is the PDC is about training when you need it the most and you can afford it the least, because our main market are people who are unemployed.
Yeah.
They're in transition.
Unemployment unemployment doesn't really pay all the bills.
No, it doesn't.
Now, can we actually back up a little bit?
Sure.
And can you tell me a little bit about yourselves, how you came to, did you grow up around here, where you went to school, how you decided to get involved in helping job seekers?
Okay. Would you want to kick things off?
I could. I grew up in southeastern New Jersey,
Okay.
very small town. And then I went to school in Boston. I went to Wheelock and ultimately got a master's in education. But I'm what I call an educational transplant. I decided to stay around Massachusetts.
It's a good place to live.
It is. I started out teaching elementary school and then moved to mutual funds. And
Well, that's a transition.
yes, and it was, thanks to Proposition 2.5.
Oh, yes, I remember
And
that.
I developed a training program for colonial management when I first started working there, and this was when mutual funds were really starting to just take off. And worked through various different positions there on the operations side. And then when I found myself without a job, I got involved with Wind and met Larry. And then,
Wednesday is networking day, even though, does anybody
Right.
meet on Wednesdays anymore?
Well, the
Yes.
WIND North groups. I should say for the audience here that WIND is a networking group for people in transition, which is a euphemism for they're unemployed and looking for work.
Which is how I met you guys.
Yeah, and
Right.
the WIND site is windnetworking.net. So if you want to find out where we meet, there's 4 locations. And we're an offshoot of WIND. That is, WIND members got together and said, gee, the PDC is about, well, we need someone to help grow our professional skills, because WIND and the career centers are helping us grow our job search skills. But we have, I guess I should say something about myself.
That would be nice.
Okay.
I was
I'm
actually,
getting
the cold
ahead of the
medicine hasn't
game
affected
here.
me.
Well, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, which is famous for being in the snow belt and getting
yes.
lots of snow. And I arrived in...
Summer arrived on a Thursday last year.
Yeah. And I think I got to Boston in the winter of '78, right in the
Ooh.
blizzard. I was saying, wait a minute, I think I'd made a big mistake here, Anyway, I've been around Boston for a long time, and I have a background as a little bit of a historian, and many years as a social worker. And then in 1998, I created my own company called Success Associates Career Services, and I've been helping people, identify their ideal career and find work.
So if somebody was they were thinking of considering a career move, like a
Yes.
career transition, going from,
Yeah.
instead of basket weaving, they wanted to,
They wanted to go
Bake.
into marketing.
Marketing.
Or human services or something.
I know I'm dumbing it down some. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So, and then actually I started doing Wind Networking, running that group in the Canton Canton
Okay.
office. But I've also ran it in Cambridge, and I used to run it in Westboro as well.
Okay.
So I have a lot of
I
experience.
kind of remember your name on the Westboro list.
Yeah,
as
it's-
well.
it's been a while since I've done that, but so I'm familiar with the Boston area labor market, and I've been
Okay.
through several recessions, and I
Okay.
see our membership grows and then it declines because people get called back to work.
Right.
But in the last two recessions, 2003 and 4, and then the Great Recession of 2008, 9, 10, 11. Is it ever going to end?
So it's still going on. I thought it was kind of on an upswing now.
Yeah, it
They
is.
say
It's
it
definitely
is.
it's on an upswing, but we realize that it's not sufficient just to help people write resumes
Okay.
and use LinkedIn as a way of getting back to work. People had to start to grow their professional skills because that was becoming a big barrier. We're in this
Okay.
era of lifelong learning. You
Now, are
got
professional skills, and I'm sure we'll get to this a little later in more detail, but are professional skills like electrical engineering, or are they, how to work on a computer? How to work on an iPad, because everybody seems to be, touch screen based.
yeah.
What do you define as?
Well, actually,
we
Emily, you
actually-
have a great knowledge of all of our courses.
We actually define it more as professional or soft skills, how do you solve problems that might come up.
Okay.
We do a conflict management, knowing what type of person you are and how you would resolve them.
Okay.
We haven't offered so many of what we would call necessarily the technical kind of
Okay.
skills. Microsoft Office, we've done a little bit of, but we do have project management. We offer that. Scrum, we offer a line of nonprofit courses, grant writing,
Okay.
introduction to fundraising, social media. We have a great course,
I
great
just had an
instructor.
episode on social media.
Oh, did
Wonderful.
You
you?
should check it out on my website.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that.
So you might say there's hard skills, which are the more technical, and there's
Okay.
the soft skills. We do a mixture of both. We're growing our technical capabilities. We just got our first donation of 12 computers,
Excellent.
and which is going to allow us to teach some of the basic computer courses as well as more advanced courses like QuickBooks
Okay.
and maybe SolidWorks and things of that sort, more advanced programs. So we help people in both areas, and we've had success. We offered a Scrum course, which
Ooh, yeah,
I
that's
don't know
like
if
the
you've-
new buzzword.
To the
isn't
audience,
it?
Scrum is a methodology for developing software. But two of our people that took the course, they put it on their resume, and right away they started getting calls from recruiters saying, "We want you." And they
Wow.
ended up getting work because they took this one course.
Excellent.
So it was like a feather in our cap.
Yeah, exactly.
We love that. Right.
One.
Right.
Score! Score!
Yep.
So, okay, can we back up a little bit? I'm not quite sure we finished talking about how the PDC was established.
Right.
You said it was a spin-off from Wind.
Yeah.
And was it like Wind members that just said, hey, we need to do this? And,
We had
are you based in like the southern part of the Boston area?
We started out in Canton, which is
Okay.
the Wind South location, and that's one of our main training centers.
Okay.
And
you
we
rent
had-
office
we
space?
had- Well, we
Or do you-
rent space in the Trinity Episcopal Church,
Okay.
right next to the Great Blue Hill.
Okay.
So it's a great, it's a wonderful hall where we have facilities, and we have a library, hall, a kitchen area that we use.
Excellent.
And we had two beginnings, one in 2004, and
Okay.
again during that recession.
Okay.
And then all of our folks ended up, after the recession ended, getting hired.
Yay.
And our group kind of went into remission.
Okay.
And then the Professional Development Collaborative revived during the Great Recession. And since 2010, we've been offering professional courses led by industry leaders to upgrade people's skills to, as we say, speed their return to work.
Okay.
And you've been there right from the get-go.
Yes. We got, and what helped us in 2010 was in 2004, we got sort of our corporate structure and all of that kind of stuff in place, so that in 2010 we could take more of just a launching the instruction part, the workshop part.
Okay.
So we
Now,
created
where do you
our website.
find the
and
speakers? You know, the professional, you know,
the instructors?
the experts.
Yeah. Well, I've gotten to know many people because for years I've had speakers at Wind. And also many of our people, when they land, they are industry experts in and of themselves. Oftentimes they're in transition, they're out of a job, but many of them have a depth of expertise.
Oh, okay.
So they land work, and oftentimes they become our instructors.
Oh,
And we also have people just that are
Infinite
national.
pool.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And we also have people like Jack Nevison, who is a nationally known project manager instructor. He's written the book on project management. We have Bruce Ketcher's written a book on how to be a successful consultant. So we draw upon community resources, industry experts that we've, and by the way, they're also calling us because oftentimes they want to give back to the community, and it's a way for them to provide affordable trainings. They'll oftentimes, Jack, well, I won't use any particular instructor, but one instructor charges companies $5,000 a day, and he does, for a very modest fee, he'll run an all-day training for us. And that allows us to produce affordable trainings. So that's exciting to have that, you know, these industry experts coming out, giving it their all. They really identify with helping people return to work. And it's exciting for them, and it's a terrific way of giving back to the community.
Excellent. Now, your target audience obviously are people in transition. Would you welcome, or do you tend to welcome people that are not from the immediate Canton area? Like if there was a Burlington resident who is unemployed and needs some of these skills that the career place in Woburn doesn't provide?
We welcome, we right now have a couple of partnerships as well, alliances with the Cambridge Career Center and Framingham and Norwood. So in addition to Canton, we offer courses in those locations, but we welcome anybody from any part of Massachusetts, anybody who wants to come. We also welcome people who might want to volunteer.
Oh.
You might say that one of our slogans could be Ernie Bach's, "Come on down." But actually, so now we're in Framingham, Norwood, Canton, and Cambridge. So it's just a hop, skip, and a jump from Burlington to Cambridge, and perhaps at some point...
The 350 bus goes right to Cambridge.
Yeah.
Right there.
So it's great. So we're serving more and more people. In fact, I think you brought the statistics, but we've had, like between 2012 and 2013, over 100% increase in participation. And then again, 2013 to 2014, again, another 50% increase in participation. So word is kind of getting out, hey, there's affordable training, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, and it'll help speed your return to work.
Oh, okay.
That's a powerful
So ideally,
combination.
you want to make yourselves obsolete.
Yeah,
Well, we'd like
that
to,
would be great.
well, not obsolete, but switch our focus from those in transition or underemployed to those in small companies who, because small companies don't always have the training dollars either.
Right. That's
So we've had some participation from people in small companies
true. Oh, okay.
because we
That's
are
a valid
affordable.
point, yeah.
In fact, you know, another part of our mission is not just helping the people in transition, but helping small companies, because, I mean, you'll see in the paper stories about, gee, we can't find people with the right skills. So we're part of the answer to that.
Okay.
We're providing small employers who don't have a big budget for training with trained staff.
Excellent. Now, can we kind of go back and distinguish job training versus career development? Are they the same or are they different?
Well, I like to think of career development is over 20, 30, 40 years, where you're going to
Okay.
be oftentimes changing careers 3 or 4 times, so that you might be taking courses that grow your career. You might start out as an administrative assistant, you might go into the marketing department, you might be writing copy, and you might
Okay.
become the marketing manager, and all
Okay.
the time you're taking courses to grow your skills. That's career development.
Okay.
And then training is, I want to get a promotion in my existing job, or I'm unemployed, and they tell me I need to learn Excel.
Okay.
Okay? And so it's much more specific and limited.
Okay.
And we do
So
both.
job training is more short term
Yeah.
or immediate,
Yeah.
and career development is big picture.
Yeah, over a longer
Okay.
period of time.
Okay.
And I would say most of our people are more, hey, I'm out of a job, how do I get back to work? So they want to just add a few courses that'll make their resume more attractive, their LinkedIn profile
Okay.
more appealing, so that they'll get called by these recruiters.
Anybody use LinkedIn?
Big time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
and
set
it's-
up my profile and basically haven't touched it in 5 years.
you know,
It's becoming used more
Okay.
by all the constituencies, I think.
Okay.
yeah.
Groups on LinkedIn are becoming more prevalent,
Guess I should update my.
but
LinkedIn
definitely
profile.
companies are going out looking for
Yeah.
people.
If you're
on
looking for
LinkedIn,
work, it's important.
Yeah.
Because you might say there's 3 ways of finding work: networking,
Okay.
reaching out to people, making connections, just answering ads, and third is being visible in the social media arena,
okay.
which is LinkedIn is the primary one, where you're
Okay.
spotted by company recruiters and agency recruiters.
Oh,
And this is where it's helped our folks, because they would change their profile. All right, I now have Spanish. I now have Excel. I've learned Scrum. And all of a sudden they start to get calls from these recruiters
Okay.
that are saying they're looking for work.
Okay. Hearing you talk, I just think of my experiences a long time ago in a galaxy far away, where I went to the Career Center in Woburn, which is run by the DET, and they had courses like Excel and some computers. Do you overlap, or do you pick up where they leave off, or do you have some kind of working relationship with them? Not necessarily with the
Right.
Woburn branch,
Right.
but
Yeah.
With the career centers that we do have partnerships and alliances with, they do their own, really, their own Microsoft Office
Okay.
courses, LinkedIn. So we don't try and offer those because we have one
Duplication
group
of
that we do
efforts.
in
Okay.
Canton that's a little bit above very
Okay.
beginner, but we would only offer it in Canton. And we haven't offered that in a while, but we're working on being able to offer it, especially now that we have our new computers.
so the
So,
the offices that you're working with,
right,
you kind of figure out what their courses are and offer something different.
That's right.
Because you
Yeah.
don't want to overlap,
Right.
you don't want to reinvent the wheel.
right.
Right.
So
Okay.
we work,
They
we
don't-
tell them what we kind of have and we'd like to offer, and then they agree with yes, and then we determine the date and the time and
Okay.
that kind of thing, so.
And they're all at your office in Canton.
No, we
No.
do some at Cambridge
that's
and
right, you
at
told me.
Alewife. and then-
Cambridge and-
Right, Framingham. and Norwood.
Framingham, Norwood. We
Yeah.
just offered a technical writing course in Norwood. We're having the branding via social media in Framingham coming up. We have a project management coming up in Framingham. We just had fundraising workshops in Cambridge.
Wow.
So
We have
and
one
some of
coming
them,
up in
we're
Framingham.
developing curriculum for nonprofits, for human resources. We're trying to develop things which will really help people advance in their career and get back to work.
Okay.
But do it at an affordable price.
Now, when you mentioned, project management, my brain kind of kicked in. Are there your courses that you offer? are they certified? So like if someone is, PMP certified, or is it just kind of like the same information but not quite the certifiable official course?
To become certified with PMP, you have to take an exam.
Okay.
Our current one-day project management essentials gives you sort of the introduction. And from there you
Okay.
can determine and talk to the instructor and who does offer further courses. But
Okay.
you get a good sense of if that's a path that you want to take or not
Okay.
through that one day of training. So you don't get your certification out of
Okay.
that course, but it gives you a good foundation.
And whether or not you want to invest the money
Right,
in
exactly.
the official
Right.
Yeah.
certification, because they
Right.
move the decimal point over to the right
Yeah.
as soon
That's
as you
right.
say.
A lot of
And
these,
he's happy to talk to you about it and gives you a reduction.
yeah, a lot of these programs, they have their own testing and certification. In fact, we've offered a Lean Six Sigma course, which is, again, something
Yeah,
peculiar
I
to
remember.
manufacturing and
Okay.
sometimes financial services. And we've had a scholarship that reduced the cost of the program by over $1,000, which was great for the students. And then they take the course. They still have to do a final exam, you might say, through the accrediting agency. It's just a
Okay.
little bit like social work. I went to Salem State Social Work School, and I graduated, but then I have to be licensed through the state and take, so
Okay.
the education is the precursor.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Now, kind of jumping aside, how is the collaborative funded? Is it just from the low-cost tuition, or are there other sources of income?
Well, you want to speak to
I
that?
could, at this point, we have been funded primarily by the course offerings.
Okay.
But we do also participate in the Senior Community Service Employee Program, which is a
Okay.
federal program, which is allows for people who are 55 and over who are looking for a job or
Okay.
that kind of thing and meet certain income requirements to be able to work for nonprofits for minimum wage or government entities. So
Okay.
we have, without our CSEP help, we wouldn't be able to be where we are today. But we are predominantly volunteer supported.
But
We,
we're
was
also,
gonna say-
go ahead.
I was going to say, we just did our first fundraiser last fall
Yeah.
and had our first computers donated, so now we can have computer classes because we own computers.
Okay.
So we are moving forward.
We're very much in startup mode. Even though we've been running for a few years now, we're becoming more visible. We're starting to get donations from companies.
Okay.
We're starting to do our own fundraisers, but mainly our income comes from the classes. So it's very small, and we couldn't exist. We run by volunteer labor, just the way this Bobcat
Yeah,
TV
P-
runs
PCAT.
basically by volunteer labor through a lot of the programs. So we're the same fashion, and it allows us to provide the affordable trainings.
Oh, okay. Can I ask what affordable is? How
Yes.
much would it cost for your average class? Is there like an average price or?
Half-day courses run $45 to $49. Full-day courses generally run around $89. Several week courses would be, we've had an introduction to grant writing 6-week course, 18 hours of classroom, that was like 150 or so. So everything is mostly less than $100.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That is really affordable.
I know, right? So, and even then, people still ask for scholarships, and we don't really have fund
Yeah.
for scholarships yet.
Yet.
But if people volunteer with us, they get half
Well, they
price.
take your grant writing course, so they can write
That's
grants.
right.
That's right.
So
There you go.
they take our
Giving
grant writing
back
course.
to the community.
That's right. So
Right.
go for that's great.
Excellent. Now, we talked a little bit about technical, the
Yeah.
project management. Are there differences between opportunities for people in career changes? Like if they wanted to totally change careers, if they wanted to go from the for-profit sector to the nonprofit sector, Or is it just somebody who's an accountant or who's been working in accounting and wants to go back to accounting? I mean, are there
Yeah.
differences in the courses?
We don't have necessarily a difference per se in how we offer the course, but I think within our nonprofit channel, I think we're getting a number of people who have come out of a for-profit world but want to get into a nonprofit.
Do you see that as a
So they're
trend?
taking grant writing and advanced grant writing, introduction to fundraising. I don't know precisely how many people that is, but definitely there are people that are doing that.
Okay.
Also, some people who have their own nonprofits already that are small, that are looking to expand how they might be able to raise funds.
You know, is it a trend? Whenever there's a major recession, we have major layoffs in financial services, in construction, in software technology. So when that happens, then a lot of folks, especially if they've been in the field for a long time, they say, you know what, I've had it. I want to switch to something. Maybe it's more heartfelt, so they want to go to a nonprofit.
Okay.
So there's a trend. Now, if there was no recession, there would be much less of a trend.
Okay.
You know, it's getting thrown out of a job encourages, now is the time to make that shift.
Yeah.
And so we provide...
Nonprofits tend not to pay as well as the
No, they
for-profit
don't. And
sector,
that's the
right?
challenge for people. So how do they swing this financially?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having worked in nonprofits for 15 years, I understand.
Yeah. Well, I've been in that
Kept
same
saying
boat.
my next job will be for a for-profit.
Right.
And my job right before I left was a for-profit company whose client base was nonprofits.
Okay.
So,
So making money one way or the other. right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I digress. What advice could you give someone interested in a career change, since we're talking about career changes? I mean, do you offer advice, or do you just say, okay, you've already decided to do this, or don't do it? I mean,
Well, you know, I would say
I'm not really-
we're not. I happen to be a career counselor, but Professional
PDC
Development
is-
Collaborative is not composed of career counselors.
Right.
And we would refer people to who are specialists in that field. If you can't decide what you want to do, what are your key
Okay.
strengths and skills, go see a career counselor. But if you have it made up your mind that you'd like to get into
Okay.
HR, or if you want to start to work for a nonprofit, or if you want to grow your accounting skills, then we provide the courses. So we try to keep our ear to the ground. Gee, what are the needs out there for people,
Okay.
professionals?
so you really don't provide the career counseling services, you
No,
provide the
right.
skills.
We refer people for that. But we get, you know, there's a lot of folks that are in transition, that see our flyers at career centers, through WIND networking groups. Through
On BCAT now,
and
right? On BCAT.
Libraries.
That's right. Yeah, so they're going to see it and hear about it and say, well, gee, I'm in transition now, or I'm in a job, it doesn't pay me a lot, I need to grow my skills if I'm going to move up. Maybe this is a group that could help me.
Okay. Or I have a skill set that I want to offer to you. And,
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good networking opportunity for, you know, information experts.
Yeah.
Experts in their fields, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they can have classes, in-person classes. I guess if you had to differentiate us from the big changes now in education is all online education, right? But a lot of folks want the person in the classroom experience. They want the teacher there that they can ask questions to. They want to talk to their fellow students. They don't want to just all...
I also find that as a motivator too.
Yeah, and the teacher
the
can
online-
motivate you.
yeah.
So
Or the accountability of showing up every week.
Yeah.
You know,
It's-
versus just logging online.
yeah, there's a lot to say for it. So that's a powerful appeal.
And
And
it's also like a good support system too. Yeah, because if you're going to class with a whole bunch of other people who are in similar situations as you,
yeah,
you know, it's kind of like, I'm not a social outcast. I'm, you know,
that's right.
Right.
We have I guess you could say we have some groupies. People who
do.
seem to come to every workshop.
Yeah.
It's like, boy, they're really learning. And what I have to say, you know, today we're living in the era of lifelong learning.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, you've got to keep growing your skills. And if you don't, you know, the culture and the society is going to pass you by. So we're forced to, whether we like to or not, constantly grow our skills.
Okay.
And the nice thing about what we're doing is we can sit in all these classes, grow our own skills.
Grow your own
Right.
skills. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Now, how has, we've talked about different recessions and everything. Where are we now? Are we in the middle of a recession? Are we digging our way out? I mean, ever since I had my kid, almost 6 years ago, I've pretty much tuned out the job market.
Yeah. You want to?
Well, I'll start, but you might finish. But everything I hear leads toward we're gradually getting out.
Okay.
But I think that there's still areas that if you were financial services, that's an area that I don't think we'll ever have the number of jobs in that we had before. I think they're starting to become more tech jobs, for instance, more jobs maybe in healthcare, but maybe different areas of healthcare, so that they're, while we are, according to the statistics,
Okay.
it appears coming out of it from a jobs perspective, there's still going to be people that are underemployed or unemployed just because of their backgrounds, I think,
Okay.
that will be harder to get back.
Just this past week, we finally reached the employment level, which is about 6.3% unemployment that we had in 2007. So in a way, we're officially out of the recession in terms of
Okay.
we've reached the same level of employment. However, that's been aided by 20 million people have dropped out
Right.
of labor force participation. So in other words, there used to be like 65% of the American population were
Okay.
actively working, and it's
Okay.
dropped down to 63%, which is about 20 million people just disappeared. A lot of them are older workers, 45, 55 and above, who've had a very tough time getting rehired.
So I was also wondering about that.
Yeah.
I remember during my search a long time ago, it was, over 50 was challenging.
Yeah.
And then while I was working, it's like, no, now it's over 40 is hard.
Like the 40 is the new 50, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's getting worse.
So do you see a certain line, like, or a certain ageism is there a line?
Well, there's definitely ageism out there and age discrimination because they've done studies where they show that if they take two equally qualified resumes but indicate the age of the person on one and not the other, it's the age unidentified person who gets called for the interviews.
Okay.
So older workers get called less frequently, and when they do get called, they don't get hired as much.
Because
So
once you show
there's
up, they know how old you are.
Right.
yeah. And in a way, we're helping to reverse that. We're hoping that by growing people's skills, it combats one of the main stereotypes of older workers is that
They're
the technology has passed them by, the world's passed them by, and they, so that, no, our folks are current, they're learning, they're growing. And one of the key questions people ask is, well, what have you been doing while you're unemployed? And if you can show people you've been growing your skills, you've been volunteering, it destroys that myth of the out-of-touch older worker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's hope.
There's hope.
But
Right.
we do need it. We could use the big jobs program. That would be very helpful for people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think we kind of touched upon this, but I wasn't sure if there was any more you wanted to add. Specific industries most affected by this current recession that we're growing out of. I know you mentioned, financial. Was there anything you needed, you thought about, wanted to add?
I made a list out earlier.
Excellent.
Construction, massive losses. Now it's coming back.
I mean, look
Pretty
at,
well.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys noticed on your way in here, Middlesex
Yeah.
Turnpike, it's just like
Yeah.
exploded.
So
Yeah.
that's come back big time. It's just getting about back to, but it was really impacted by the Great Recession. Financial services, big contraction. Manufacturing, a big contraction, which is now getting back to speed. Healthcare stayed steady state, more or less. Education, more
Do you
or
think
less.
healthcare is going to increase more because
Yeah.
with all the baby boomers?
Well, this isn't our area of expertise,
okay.
but what I'd say is that you're right, because of the aging population, there's more need for services. But at the
And just
same
statistically, people are living longer
Right.
too.
Yeah, they're living longer, and at the same time, they're trying to cut back on the costs and reduce,
Okay.
a fewer number of hospitals, more specialized. I don't know. So it's
It's
up
hard
in the
to
air.
say, I think,
Yeah.
Okay.
how
So
exactly
I
it'll
don't
go.
think it'll be a big growth area for hiring. So I'm told, for example, a lot of people are trained as medical assistants and medical interpreters, but finding
What's a medical
work.
interpreter?
Well, if someone speaks Portuguese or speaks
Oh,
Creole,
okay.
and they don't, someone you have to have someone there, but it's
Okay.
very hard to find.
So an interpreter that tends to know more of the technobabble in the
Yeah, you
medical
need medical
industry.
terminology.
That knows the language
Yeah.
Okay.
from
But
that
it's,
perspective.
it's very little part-time. It's mostly all part-time work rather than
Okay.
full-time work. The fastest growing jobs are all low-skill, oftentimes short-term temp work, contract work,
Okay.
which isn't a good prognosis for young people coming out who want to build a career and build
Yeah.
a life.
But something like contract work is easier and less expensive for the industry,
Right.
for the companies.
Yes,
And
Because they don't
that's-
have to pay insurance and,
right.
Well, and they don't have to keep on staff somebody that, they have a project now that they need somebody to do.
Okay.
So in the past, you would be hired, you would be given something to do when that project was finished or whatever.
Job
in
security.
between
Yeah.
projects. Now companies are more looking at, we'll hire somebody to do the project. Once the project's done, we don't need them anymore,
Okay.
which gets you back to the contract and the temporary, which is
is where you
kind
guys
of going
come
to the
in, 'cause-
portfolio
Yeah.
career kind of thing
Yeah.
too.
One
so.
interesting fact is there's now people are rotating, cycling through the employment process on an average of every 4 years, so that you might
Really?
get hired. 4 years later, on average now, people are let go. And if you're 50 and you work to 70, that means you're going to be let go and thrown into the unemployment ranks 4 or 5 more times.
Wow.
And this is where the lifelong learning comes in, and the affordable trainings come in, because I guess education is a great investment in yourself
It is.
and in the culture, because we all need it, and it'll keep us current. So we're hoping that we'll be able to be there for people.
Right.
Now, again, I don't know if this is an area that you can cover, but you mentioned 50 working up to 70.
Yeah.
Do you see a trend that people do have to work beyond age 65? Is that becoming a lot more
Yeah.
common?
I think it's becoming more common, partly because as a population, as a country, we haven't saved enough.
Okay.
I know
Also,
I
like
was always going to work
pensions.
till 80, but
Yeah.
A lot of
Right.
companies don't offer
Don't-
pensions
no.
anymore.
Yeah.
so depending on what you have for 401k or profit sharing, if you had that, or an IRA, it will
Okay.
determine how long you have to work.
Wow.
In fact, we have
So-
a similar problem that they had during the Great Depression in the 1930s, when they instituted the 40-hour work week.
Okay.
That was done to create jobs. They had people retire at 65 and only work 40 hours a week to open up job openings. And today, a lot of the baby boomers aren't retiring because they can't afford it, and it's blocking young people moving into some of those
and
professional
also the
jobs.
40-hour work week. I mean,
Yeah, and it's like 50 or 60 hours now
yeah,
for many
you're
professional
expected
jobs.
Right.
to, your
Yeah.
salary, so you can work 80
Yeah,
hour
that's
weeks.
right. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I mean, the long-term prognosis
Okay.
is that our culture is the technologies in the culture are changing dramatically and rapidly, and we need to keep abreast of all those changes just to become employable.
Okay.
So that's our mission, is to provide affordable trainings, and we're doing that as best we can with limited resources. We are looking for volunteers. If you want to make an appeal,
And
we'd love to have, just the way you thrive here with your volunteer help. We have openings in our marketing area. We have openings in
what
our,
kind of marketing things are you looking for?
well, we have a whole social media. We have a website. We have a Facebook page.
So you need somebody to update your website.
Yeah,
And, okay.
yeah. There's
And
that. We
our
have an
social
e-zine,
media.
which goes out to all of our subscribers, which
Okay.
keeps growing. So it's like an electronic magazine. That's in the marketing area. We have our fundraising committee. You want to share about that?
Our fundraising committee is working on the different ways that we can raise funds, doing a
Okay.
campaign. We've talked about doing a fundraising event. Grants is another area that we're looking at. Donations in kind could be part of that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned
Sponsorships, we've also
you
talked
had
about.
a fundraiser
We did.
this past fall. What was that?
That was an email out to former WIND members,
Okay.
and people that we've gotten on the PDC mailing list,
Okay.
emailing list, through taking courses.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like a dinner or something.
No,
or-
it was a
It's
a
the, remember,
mailing.
this used to be dialing,
Yeah.
dialing for dollars. I got on the phone.
Yeah.
Hello,
WPLG,
remember
all
me?
pledge
I'm
all the
Larry.
time.
Yeah.
I'm Larry. Yeah. We have a, well, there's the website committee, there's the fundraising, marketing,
And training.
trainings committee, planning all these workshops and
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out where's their demand now? What do people need to stay current in their fields?
How do you find out something like that?
Well, ask people. And we're at the forefront of this because we meet a lot of folks that are unemployed,
Okay.
and they tell us, listen, I'm getting turned down for jobs because I don't have this skill, I don't have that skill. And so by giving us that information, we begin to know what kind of courses to run.
Okay.
Or we have people who are experts in human resources or in compensation and benefits, and they tell us, hey, if you want to get into HR now, you have to know about Obamacare. You have to know about how companies are affected by the National Health, the Affordability Act. Okay, so then we can start to run courses on that or something like that to keep people abreast. But we definitely, and just being there at workshops, registering people,
Okay.
signing them in,
Now, how often do you have these workshops? Are they, a regular weekly thing at different sites, or?
We've been running, I would say, 3 or 4 a month, at
Okay.
least this year.
Yeah.
And we vary the site mostly between Cambridge and Framingham and Norwood.
Okay.
Then occasionally we'll use Canton. Canton doesn't have access to public transportation, which can be tough.
Yeah. Have a commuter rail though, I think.
They
There
do, but
is, sir.
then you have to take a cab or,
Yeah.
so it's awkward. You can
Okay.
take a bus out of Boston too somehow, but no matter how it is, it's like multiple
Yeah.
changes.
Takes you 6
And-
hours to get there.
Right, exactly. So how many
Fortunately,
people come?
most of our folks have cars.
Right.
And you can't live out in Burlington without a car.
No.
Yeah, it would be hard to get around. So,
There is the Beeline, but yeah.
It only goes certain
So,
places.
Yeah.
and we have some volunteer activities in Cambridge too, so we could do
Okay.
some of our marketing from there, and the e-zine. We've had
Well,
meetings.
something like that, like a marketing thing, can be done pretty much from
Right.
anywhere because
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
we live in a virtual world now.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
We might like to have them come down and meet everybody once, but then, a certain amount of that work can be
But
done
I mean,
from
you're not
your-
schlepping from
no.
Burlington to,
Right.
Yeah.
Norwood
No.
on 128
No.
every day.
No.
Or not even every week. So,
And people can volunteer as much or as little of the time as they want. And we have some people who are really dedicated, like I'll plug Louis Vega because he's doing our website and keeping it up to date. And basically, it's kind of volunteer work, and it's pretty intense because there's Facebook and the website and changes and posting workshops, and it's all. And
Facebook keeps changing their format
And
too.
Emily and
so-
I are
Right.
technophobes, you might say. We're not that
I'm getting a
technically.
little-
Well, maybe I shouldn't speak
I'm getting
for
a
you.
little better, but I'm not there yet.
Right,
I
but-
used to be very technically savvy, and
Yeah.
then I married a computer programmer, and
Yeah, okay,
just
yeah, right.
my brain
Getting-
just.
At least I'm getting a little better with Facebook. I now have a picture, so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And now they're going to change how you upload a picture. Now, I think we touched upon this a little bit, but do you see, what are your thoughts on job networking? Do you really see it and successfully as who you know more than what you know, or is it a combination of both? Because
Well-
the collaborative seems to be focusing on the what you know.
That's right. We focus on the what you know. But remember, a lot of our folks come from networking groups. They hear about us through WIND, the Acton Networkers, different kinds of job search groups or career centers. So they're learning how to do a good job search. And we've had courses on social media which help them as well.
Right.
So I'd have to say we're more about what can help put you back to work, technically speaking, your skills, rather than, we'll tell you how to write a good resume. Because there actually are lots of resources for people, better than ever before.
Right.
A lot of money is going to help people do a good resume, but actually, networking is still much more important. And it happens right in our classroom. So our classrooms and meeting industry leaders are a great way for people to grow their skills and network at the same time. Yeah. So people meeting in class,
Right.
exchanging phone numbers, and then becoming job search buddies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why not?
Little support group as well
Right.
as.
That's right.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but is there like an average time frame that someone is out of work today?
I don't have a good
I
sense.
think let me say this, there's now more long-term unemployed than there has been in a dog's age.
Okay.
So in other words, people, long-term unemployed is someone unemployed 6 months or longer. It's at the highest level it's been since, I think, the Great Depression.
Okay.
So it's just gotten a lot tougher for two groups, the over 50 group and people in their 20s. I mean, right now, if you're a teenager, 25% unemployment for teenagers.
Okay.
And
Why is the 20 thing so?
And in the 20s also, it's just very hard getting your career established.
I think
Why?
it's in part because you have the older workers who, because they can't find the jobs that they would normally have held, or they need to work longer, are taking the jobs that might have been held by that age range.
Okay, so in other words,
To a certain
it's like hard to
extent.
break into.
Right. So that
Okay.
you have
You know
sort of
what?
a shift.
There's also, all the technology that we need to keep up on is also what they call labor-saving technology, so that oftentimes these ATMs are replacing thousands of bank tellers.
Yeah.
Now you use your phones are replacing folks who used to be greeters in Walmarts, we'll say. So much of the technological changes are eliminating a lot of the jobs that were entry-level jobs for many young people. So
and
now they
companies
have
that expect you to work 80-hour work weeks too.
That too.
it's not easy for folks. It's an exciting time, but it's very challenging for people.
Now, what's some advice that you could give a job seeker like today? Where would you-
Plastics.
to get their
Just kidding.
to get their application to stand out, whether it's a good resume, good cover letter, a good skill set. Do people even know what skills they're lacking, why they miss out on jobs?
Oftentimes they don't.
I'm asking a bunch of questions. I should shut up and let you answer them.
Well, there's something called what Martin Yates calls the target job deconstruction, which is if you're, let's just say you're marketing assistant, you'd go and pull out 5 ads from the internet and look at all 5 and see what skills and requirements are listed in all 5.
Okay.
And then you want to make sure that you have those skills in your repertoire.
Okay.
And you have them on your resume, and you have them on your LinkedIn site. And so if you're coming up short there, it means that to be competitive for that next level marketing assistant, or then marketing director or marketing, then you have to have those particular skills. So there's a way of finding out what those skills are, and then it's a process of getting those skills. But networking is a big part of it, because it's not just what you know; it's who you know.
Right.
And but people want sociable people. They want people who can make connections, and are positive.
A
so
team player.
yeah.
Well, and that is where networking comes in, because you don't get that in a resume per se. But if your resume doesn't have the qualifications that the company's looking for, you're probably not going to get out of the resume bucket onto the desk, because the software will wipe you out.
Okay.
So that's where networking becomes more critical, so that you can, if you have a contact that you can get to the hiring manager with, you can almost circumvent some of that.
Okay.
So remember I mentioned earlier someone took a course on Scrum,
Yeah.
the software And then they put it on their resume. Well, for whatever reason, that's what recruiters were looking for that week, and it got them recognition.
Okay.
But they can also, so that works, but that's about 7 to 10, 15% of the job search is done through recruiting. And people have to use other means as well.
What are some of those other means?
Well, networking, for one, which is building a network of connections which will keep you informed about job opportunities, introduce you to different companies, help connect you to industry trends and give you information and resources, tell you about websites to go to. So it all helps.
And
maybe recommend you would be the case for some people. Okay, yeah.
And that's where keeping your LinkedIn
Profile.
current and up to date can be a benefit.
Okay.
And linking to people that you know, either through
How
a
well
group
do you have
or
to
how.
know someone?
It really depends on the person.
Okay.
I keep hearing mixed things. You should make sure you know who you're linking to. And then there are those people that want to be, I think they're called lions, who are linked to thousands of people or 500 people.
Wow.
And some of those people will link to pretty much anybody. But you have to feel comfortable with who you're linking to. That's the way I've sort of determined. They're names I've had one or two come up and I'm like, who is this? Where did they get my information? And I won't link to them.
Okay.
For that reason, unless they can clarify
Can
for
you
me.
unlink someone like you can unfriend someone in Facebook?
Yes, you can.
Not that I'd want to.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
But,
that's possible.
but it's like I set up my profile, like when I was my LinkedIn profile, in the middle of my job search, which
Right.
was 2005. And if I look back at my links now, I probably won't recognize half those names
Yeah.
because it's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind
Yeah.
thing.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You've made a host of met a host of people working here doing this program, and they could all be part of your network. And it would be, if you start to look for work again, they would be a wonderful resource for you to connect you.
Gee, I never thought of.
But,
We're not
but
trying
you
to get
might
rid of you
also,
here.
Gee, I never thought of that.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
but you
Sarcasm here.
might also be a good resource for some of the people that you know.
Exactly. Like I told you, I
And-
had
right.
a show on social networking
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
or social media, and I had
Right. Oh,
Right.
I had another show on networking. I did
Right.
one.
Yeah.
okay.
And that's
Ter-
how
terrific.
I,
Yeah.
posted something on the list on the Wind listserv to promote the show, and
Yeah.
I said, if anybody has any ideas,
Right.
I got an email from you, and I got an idea from another woman.
Yeah.
And,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's you're reaching out.
2 more shows.
Yeah. Great.
And it's
Exactly.
depending on what you do in addition to this, having
I
an
stay home with a
active,
3 and 5-year-old.
yeah.
having an up-to-date LinkedIn profile
Mm-hmm.
puts you in a position of people picking up what you're doing
Okay.
too, so that if you're looking for.
Because it is all about me, after all. No.
Yeah.
But they
how
know
would-
they know
okay.
what you do.
Okay, back to business. How would you rate the overall success of the Professional Development Collaborative? How do
Well, you know,
rate success?
people vote with their feet. They'll either take a course, and if they like it, they'll come back for other courses.
Okay.
And they also have a way of measuring it by doing evaluations.
Okay.
And more often than not, people are pretty straightforward and honest with their evaluations. And most of our courses, if we on a scale from 0 to 5, are in the 4 to 5 range. So people are pretty
Excellent.
satisfied with the
Okay.
courses, and they come back, and people keep and recommend others for our courses. We're also getting companies. I know one of your companies here, RCN, that supplies this community. They've been sending people to our trainings,
Really?
say for project management. Yeah, they've
Okay.
had folks come from their Arlington office to our facilities there in Framingham for trainings. So the word's starting to get out that we can help small businesses, we can help individuals, and we can do it at an affordable price.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
So where do you see the collaborative in the next 5 years? Because you've kind of been reactive for
yeah,
reactivated
Right.
yes.
for 6 years now, Wait, 2008
Yeah,
to...
we've been going.
Well, 2010 was when we offered our first courses toward the end of the year.
Okay,
So,
So
then
3
we had
years.
11, 12, and 13.
okay.
Yeah.
So based on that growth, how do you see yourself, how do you see the organization in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think I would like to see us have our own office space, our own classroom where we can keep computers set up, and we can offer more of the computer types of classes, and we can also have a space where people could come and practice on software that maybe they can't afford, but
Okay.
we could supply on computers where they could practice it, so that we have a place that's our own space, if you will.
Okay.
We'd love to see what's very hot in colleges now, internship programs, but for unemployed folks to have a mentoring program for people who are professionals in their field to mentor younger professionals or out-of-work professionals, but also to have what we call midtermships, which is for folks that were unemployed, they could go to a company and maybe for a stipend or some money, they'll grow their skills in a real-world environment and
Okay.
get up to speed so that they can get back to work sooner.
Okay.
It would also be nice to have lots of money coming in from grants. We were kidding around earlier today, you know, we're talking about the facilities that a Google office will have with ping pong tables and cappuccino bars and fresh fruits available. And said, gee, wouldn't that be nice to have that?
Yes.
Yeah, my husband's office park has like mini golf by the
Yeah.
cafeteria.
Gee, we didn't think of that, mini golf. But miniature
Yeah.
golf would be great for us, yeah. So,
Right.
so that put that on the agenda, but it's kind of lower priority, right? But just to kind of,
I said I'll take the office and the room with the computers.
you know what the big payoff is? Seeing people leave a workshop and really happy that they've been there and learned. And I've worked with folks who were unemployed for years. When they take a course, it oftentimes literally transforms them. They go from kind of schlumpy to, wow, I just learned something. I just got something new.
Oh,
I'm
I
excited.
can do
I'm
this.
excited. Yeah, I'm
A
hey, I can-
motivator.
That's right. So just seeing that and feeling the energy in a room when people come out and they're excited and they've had a good course, that's a wonderful feeling to provide that to people.
Excellent.
And so it's really exciting. And you know, really life is all about education all the time. And so we're just part of that. And the challenge is, how do we make it so people can actually afford it? I mean, these colleges and some of the private
Yeah.
trainings are very, very expensive.
Yeah.
You know, you have to pay, the student debt now is out of limits.
Oh, yeah.
And people can't buy homes now because they're paying off their debts. Well, so we're a small way of trying to respond to that need of lifelong education, putting people back to work, and we're a little piece of the puzzle. But you know,
Every
we
piece
can't
is
help
important.
everyone, but we can help everyone a little, and that's
Exactly.
what we're doing. Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? We're out of time.
Oh.
Yay.
All right.
So I do want to thank you guys very much, Emily and Larry,
very welcome.
for coming on. And hopefully, PDC will be growing exponentially. And I also want to thank everybody at home for tuning in this evening. And stay tuned because we will have this uploaded to YouTube shortly so you can see any of the archived episodes. So have a wonderful evening and enjoy this wonderful spring weather. Have a great night. Good night.